Hi guys, welcome back to the 8 Points. So get straight into it. Warcry Catacombs, we've been looking forward to this for quite a little while now. So first announced probably about 2 months ago. Sprues. We'll come back to these later. What I'll do is I will assemble everything in here and then we'll come back and take a look at it. What I won't be assembling, so actually yeah, so these are, first couple of sprues is our war bands, which is cool. Then we're on to the Catacombs Terrain, which looks pretty tasty, very nice. So we get one of these ones. Again, I'll be assembling everything and we'll take a better look in a minute. We get 2 of this sprue. And then we've got a lot of terrain that we've already seen. So to break this down a little bit, so I'm not going to assemble any of this, but I will show you what it makes. In fact, before we get into it, I'll show you some of that now. So we'll go through it in a bit more detail later. And that is because some people are saying that it makes up the same stuff. It doesn't. So this is the terrain that we got from the first core set. This is one of the ruins. So this sprue makes up this piece of terrain. Looks a lot smaller because of the way it's laid out, but it's exactly the same amount of kit. And then this sprue makes up this piece of terrain. But we'll go through all of that stuff shortly. Right, kind of meat and bone stuff. So we've got a double-sided board and a token set. I haven't got enough space on my current camera setup to show you everything that's on here. What I can tell you actually is that coming up next week I'll have a video teaching you how to make your own Catacombs board. So I've recently been building my own terrain, very basic stuff out of old kids' play mats. Very basic, very cheap. There's some unpainted ones there. So I'm going to build some Warcry boards. So these are like wall sections and that kind of thing. And I have a tutorial coming up next week. The reason I want to build my own Warcry board is because I don't want to be I don't want to be stuck with the exact same board layouts as we've got from here and from the other card and from the other board pack, which I'll be doing a review of in the next day or so. I want something completely modular that I can change to whatever I want, really. So this is the board. You won't be able to see all of it. My new camera setup will be probably done maybe by tomorrow, but I'll show you what I can. So this, anyone who knows Warcry, all this stuff will be very familiar. But this side won't be. It looks amazing actually. At the center of the 8 points there. So very cool. So yeah, so the board I'll be building will include all of these wall sections and that kind of thing. But it'll be really easy to build and really cheap as well. Okay, so that's the board. There's also some steps and that kind of thing. So I'll be building the steps as well. Steps are really easy to build on the format I'll be using. But yep, so that's that. That's the board. The board's really cool actually. So we've got a token set there. Plastic ruler. We've got some literature. So let's have a look at what we've got in here. So we've got all of our cards for our warbands. We've got our build guide. Well, we've got the core book and the Catacombs book. Catacombs book we'll have a look at in a second. I just want to quickly double check something. So a lot of people were saying that this Warcry rule book was going to be exactly the same as the one that initially came out and wouldn't include any of the errata stuff that's in the Tome of Champions. And a quick look at the scoring table on here tells me that yes, that is correct. So they have not updated the rulebook at all. So the things that have changed and were updated with Tome of Champions have not changed in this book, which is unfortunate. Okay, so let's have a quick look before we get into the Catacombs book and the cards. What else we've got? A bunch of bases, a bunch of baggies, a bunch of dice. Very nice. Let my cat out. Right, so we'll come back to our warbands. So what have we got? Contents. We have some lore stuff. I'll get to the rules really and come back to all this stuff another time. So we've got the Scions of the Flame here, and they've existed in book form all the way since the original core book. The text has not changed, so no update there. Killers in the Depths, more stuff. So I mean, I'm sure anyone who's seen this imagery, it looks really compelling. It looks great actually, and that's partly why I want to create my own boards, so as I can get more to this sort of view. Obviously, anything I make won't be of this sort of quality, but you know, we've actually got quite a lot of this terrain already anyway. Then we take a look at our Scions of the Flame, and okay, Shadow Stalkers. Right, rules, please. The Tunnels of Death. Okay, here we go. Catacombs. So setting up dungeon battles and their terrain. Separate campaigns. Just want to get to see how we do our terrain really. So we've got separate dungeon abilities, which are available in the game. So I'll probably print some cards like these ones. I'll probably make some of those up for that. Well, no, probably, I definitely will. Each dungeon battlefield comes with terrain setup instructions like those found on these game pages. Oh, perfect, okay. So, sorry, not perfect. So it would be great to have these in actual card form, but I'll be able to photocopy these and basically just create my own cards, as I can also do for these victory card tables. It's a bit annoying actually. These victory card tables they're a bit of a weird size, so to get all this stuff onto one, you know, the size of a standard card is going to be difficult, but I'll find a way of doing it. New twist cards. So why have we got on the card table? Oh right, okay, so I'm assuming a dice roll is going to work that stuff out. So again, see this, not that it's like an incredibly massive problem or anything, but so deployment cards, we're going to get 12 deployment cards, 12 victory, 6 and 12 twist. I have to say, all of this, it would be so much better if we had the cards. And I'm not one for complaining, because obviously we can crack on and play this, but I'm sure that once I've made my own sets of cards, it's going to be infinitely better than this, to be honest. Plus, I'm hoping that they'll come out with maybe a few downloadable twist cards and that kind of thing to really flush this game out a little bit more, because 12 of each compared to, I think probably, I couldn't guess, but probably 40 or 50 of each in the core set. Yeah, this needs more. Then we've got the terrain set up. So this is just for the external terrain. And again, we only get 6 versions of that. Okay, stop complaining. Campaign section. Okay, so right, so these are the campaigns for. That's one for the Canaanite Shadow Stalkers, and another one for them, and another one for them. Okay, cool. All right, so we get 3 for each warband in here. Fated quests again. So this is, we've seen fated quests before, but this is more, I'm assuming, for any warband to tackle. We can see from the convergence maps, this is where we've got the Catacombs Terrain set up. Oh, sorry, that was in the previous ones as well. Okay, so that's cool. So there's only really terrain set up for the little campaigns they've got here. So there's no terrain set up for Catacombs set out in table form like they are here. Unless I've missed it. I don't think I have. No, I haven't. So slightly, again, disappointing. But then again, to be fair, we've got 1, 2, 3. I don't know how these are individually set up. 4, 5, 6, 9, 12, 14, 15, 18, 20. So there's 20 different Catacombs set up, assuming none of these are duplicated between these different campaigns. Okay, so new victory and glory, sorry, honor and glory tables at the end of the battle as well. Okay, so that's pretty cool. I mean, to be fair, it doesn't replace the missing cards, to be honest with you, but I'm capable of making my own, so that's what I will be doing. Let's take a look at these cards. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards for the Canaanite Shadow Stalkers. And we've got 9 models for those. And then for the Scions of the Flame, we've got 11. We've got 8 models for that. So if you want all of the options, you're going to have to buy some extra models, some extra sprues. Okay, and then we've got these for duplicates again as well. So let's have a look at the Canaanite Shadow Stalkers first. So generally they are fairly cheap, between 90 and 120 points, except for the leader, which is 190. Movement wise, they're all 5, except for the leader, which is 6. Wounds wise, they are balanced pretty much the same as other similar warbands. When I say similar warbands, I mean the warbands that have come out specifically for Warcry, so not anything that's ported over from Age of Sigmar. So wounds wise, they're all between 8 and 12. In fact, everything's 8 except for these two, which is 12, and the leader, which is 20. They're all toughness 3, which is pretty weak, except for the leader, who's toughness 4, which ain't that great. Damage wise, they all do between 1 and 4 damage. So they all do 1 or 2 damage on a standard hit. And then between 3 and 5 on a crit. 5 is only held with the leader. But lots of them do 4 damage on a crit. So that's good as well. We have got one model which has got some sort of mid-range combat between 3 and 7 inches. So that is on a strength 3 doing 2 damage or 4 on a crit, but they only roll 2 dice for it. In terms of strength, they're all 3s and 4s. So there's nothing special here, at least from the sort of cards, at least from what the cards are telling us. So let's take a look at the abilities and see what's special about these guys. So on a double, they do Shadow Leap. So they can fly when making move actions until the end of their activation. They can fly. Can you fly in Catacombs? I need to check back on the rules on that one. Another double one, Cursed Darts. So that's available to these 4 cards. So that one is pick a visible enemy fighter within 9 inches of this fighter and roll 2 dice. On a 4-up, allocate 2 damage points. In addition, if either dice scored a 6, halve the move characteristic of that fighter until the end of the battle round. Okay, so that's good. So it nicks 2 wounds, and if you roll a crit, it takes half their movement. Then we have got another double, Instrument of Cain, which is available to these 2 guys. To the dudes with the hair, or the ladies with the hair. A fighter can use this ability only if an enemy fighter has been taken down by an attack action made by them this activation. This fighter makes a bonus move action or a bonus attack action. Okay. Then we've got our first triple, which is Harness Shadow, and this one is available to these 2 models. Till the end of the battle round, subtract 1 from the attack's characteristics to a minimum of 1 of attack actions made by enemy fighters that target a fighter within 3 inches of this fighter. So if you keep everyone huddled to them, you get reduced attacks on a triple. Then we've got a free ability, so anyone can use it. It's a triple, Dance of Death. Until the end of this fighter's activation, this fighter can finish disengage actions within 1 inch of enemy fighters. So you can disengage but still be within 1 inch of another enemy fighter, which is pretty handy actually, because you know you pick and choose where you disengage in this game, so that's cool. And then the quad, which is available only to the leader, allocate a number of, so it's called Ensnaring Darkness. Allocate a number of damage points equal to the value of this ability to all visible enemy fighters within 3 inches of this fighter. Instead, this fighter can draw their Shadow Blood. If they do so, allocate 3 damage points to this fighter and a number of damage points equal to the value of this ability to all visible enemy fighters within 6 inches. So, sacrifice 3 health to take whatever the value of this ability is away from anything within 6 inches. So that's really cool. Very cool. So that's the K-Knight Shadow Stalkers. They are somewhat... So they're well powered. They look pretty handy against other warbands, other Warcry warbands. But as soon as you start to include the Age of Sigmar stuff, there's not many that they can stand up to, just on the basis of this. So yeah, certainly not anywhere near top tier, but not useless either, if you know what I mean. Okay, Scions of the Flame. Okay, so I can see that for most of these guys, so we've got 3 cards here, which are the same model, just with different options. And we've got 2 cards here, which are the same, just different options. So these 3, for example, they're all pointed between 55 and 65. Every single one of these is a movement of 4. Every single one of these is they're all toughness 3 or 4. The lowest wounds characteristic is 10, which is for most of them, but then we've got a few that have got 15. So this guy, the Immolator, this one I'm not sure who she is, she's 15. Immolator's 15. This guy with a great big flaming axe is 18. And then we've got this leader here who's 20. We've got one with ranged attack. It's only a 5-inch range. In terms of strength, everything's 3s and 4s except for the leader, which is a 5. In terms of damage that they do, there's some fairly handy stuff in here. So if we take the toughest ones, so the leader does 2 damage or 6 on a crit with a 2-inch range. These ones here, they're 2 damage or 4 or 5 on a crit. The Immolator is 2 and 5. This one, I'm sorry, I don't know the names. That's 2 and 4 on both the ranged and the up-close attack. 2 and 4 here. 3 and 6 for the big axe guy. And then 1 and 3 for the rest. So yeah, pretty good. And in terms of attacks, in terms of number of attacks, they're all between 3 and 4. I think 4 is the maximum number of attacks for everyone. So yeah, it's already looking better than the K-Knight Shadow Stalkers. So, however, are they let down by their abilities? Let's have a look. So the free ability is, so anyone can use it, is Fiery Might. Until the end of this fighter's activation, add half the value of this ability, rounding up to the strength characteristics of attack actions made by this fighter that have a range characteristic of 3 or less. Then we've got Beheading Strike, which is available to the big guy. So the leader, the guy with the massive axe, flaming axe. And that's it, so it's available to those 2 only. Add half the value of this ability, rounding up to the damage points allocated by crits for the next attack action made by this fighter. There's a range characteristic of 3 or less. So, I suppose he's rolling 4 dice, so there's a good chance he'll hit a crit, so he'll get to add some damage points to that. That guy, he only has 3 attacks, so it's a little bit less likely. Okay, then we've got Throw Firebomb, which is available to these 3. Pick a visible enemy fighter within 6 inches of this fighter and roll 2 dice. On a 4 or 5, allocate 1 damage. On a 6, allocate the points damage equal to the value of this ability. Then we've got Inferno, which is a triple and is available to just the Immolator. Roll 1 dice for each visible enemy fighter within 3 inches of this fighter. On a 4 or 5, 1 damage. On a 6, the number of damage points equal to the ability. Visible enemy fighters within 3 inches. Okay, so that's pretty good. If you've got people swarming him, then there's a chance he can deal that out. Then we've got Ignited Fervor, which is available to our leader. Until the end of this battle round, add 1 to the attack's characteristic of attack actions that have a range of 3 or less made by friendly fighters while they are within 6 inches of this fighter, so that's not bad. And then our quad, Engulfing Flames, which is available to just this one. Pick a visible enemy fighter within 3 inches of this fighter, roll 6 dice. For each 2 up, allocate a number of damage points to that fighter equal to half the value of this ability. In addition, for each 6, roll an extra dice as above and so on. Hang on a minute. That is insane. Pick a visible enemy fighter within 3 inches of this fighter and roll 6 dice. Right, so let's, sorry, let me just quickly emulate that. So let's say that the value of the ability was a 4. So that means we're going to get 2 dice. Sorry, so that means there'll be 2 points for each one that goes on a 2-up, right? So what have we got? So 2, 4, 6, 8 damage on that one. So that's not bad. Now, if I'd have rolled a crit, let's see if I can get one. So this one would have rolled 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and I'd get to re-roll these ones. 14, 16. So that's a good ability. And for a model that only costs 130 points, and I know it's a quad, I know they're difficult to come by, but that's a pretty tasty one, to be fair. You could be in a lot of trouble if you had to face that. Right, okay, so that's everything that's gone through except for the plastic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build everything up. Now, I won't obviously be rebuilding these because I've already done them. I also won't be building the bell tower, so I'll be kit bashing that as well. This is what I did to the actual... So I had a duplicate of the bell tower, so this is the terrain that I kind of kit bashed with it. Along with the bell tower, I happen to have another one of these Dominions of Sigmar ones, which I sort of managed to do a bit of kit bashing on as well. So I'll be doing similar stuff with this. So let's build the rest up and then we'll come back and we'll take a look. Okay, so that's all the terrain built. So let's have a look at everything that we've got. So we've got a bell tower. So that's the previous one I owned with a set of steps. This bell tower has some skeletons which hang from these. I elected to break mine off because, you know, they were going to break off at some point anyway. So for me, terrain is something I just chuck in a box and get playing with it. So they were always going to break. So I chose to do that early. We've got the 2 main ruins, which are cool. I love this terrain set. They're really, really awesome. I know some people were annoyed at getting more of this stuff instead of all new terrain, but not me. I'm very happy to get more Azurite ruins. We also got 2 walkways. So all this stuff is my original painted stuff. A smaller piece of Azurite ruin there. Got various kind of spikes and barriers. You should get 5 of those, of various sizes. And then we get these 2 smaller terrain pieces. So that's all of the Azurite stuff. In terms of the Catacombs stuff, we get a little coffin there. There's a lid that comes with it, which kind of goes half on, but I'm going to wait till I've painted it before I stick that. There's another skeleton, or sort of coffin there. We've got this well. Two of these levers. A whole bunch of other kind of smaller terrain pieces. All of it's really nice. Really, really cool, this stuff. I like all these different weapons. You can kind of go through it and work out which factions and enemies they've come from. So I like that. And 2 other small pieces here. And then we've got a whole load of doors. So we get 2 of each of these. So we get 2 of those. Get 2 of each of this type. One open, one closed. 2 of these which are also closed. And we also get 2 of these bridges. 2 of these kind of wooden, I think these are wooden small bridges maybe, not sure. And then finally 2 of this style. So what I will do is I will come back with a review of the game. I'll review Catacombs separately, so just the gameplay and that kind of thing. And I may come back and review our other 2 warbands separately. So I'll play them a few times. If I think there's anything worth sharing with you over and above what I've already done in this video, I'll come back and do a separate review for that. But I will definitely get a few games of Catacombs under my belt, review that, and then I'll come back to you and tell you what I think. So thanks very much for watching, guys. Much appreciated. Definitely tune in if you want to see my build of a Catacombs board. So if I show you the boards that we got today, how it's going to differ from the kind of setup that we've got from this board and the other boards that and the other board sets, is that they've got very clearly defined walls and passageways on here. So the one that I will make will just be completely modular, so all that stuff can be moved around. So thanks very much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. All of this sort of stuff is available at Element Games. There's a link in the descriptions. If you buy it via Element Game, you get their discount. But I also get a small kickback on that as well, but it doesn't cost you a penny. I'll also be reviewing the other warbands that came out. So the Skaven one I've already recorded, just needs to be edited and uploaded. And I also need to do the Iron Jaws and the Flesh Eater Corpse, but that will be coming out over the course of the next week or 2. But I'll leave it there and I'll catch you later. See you guys.